Okay, I've got a question. What does a malfunction Build-A-Bear, a military toy drive, and a whole slew of unprocessed grief have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they are all key plot points in 2022's Hallmark film, Christmas Bedtime Stories. And we've got a lot to talk about, Jennifer.
We do, Josh, and we'll unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
Okay, guys, we held out as long as we could. We got to talk about some Christmas movies, and we asked you, the listener, what are the worst Hallmark Christmas movies of all time? And we eliminated ones that we've either already covered on the podcast or that we actually liked. There's a lot of Haul Out the Holly haters in the house, okay?
I
We
know.
happen to enjoy Haul Out the Holly. We already talked about it. So go listen to those episodes if you haven't already. But anyways, we found a few that we're going to talk about for our summer series that we're kicking off, Coal for Christmas question mark. In today's episode, we're going to recap the movie and then award either gold or coal, depending on if it's good or bad things that stood out to us, to see if we agree that this movie is a stinker or not. And I'll say to start, the amount of internet vitriol that this movie has had for the past 2.5 years since it came out is shocking. Josh, had you heard of this movie before it appeared on our little listy?
I had not. You presented it, and I read the synopsis, and I thought, oh, we have to talk about it. And so here
Yeah.
is the synopsis for Christmas Bedtime Stories. Left to raise her daughter alone after her husband goes MIA and is presumed dead, Danielle starts to tell her daughter bedtime stories about her father. Let's go.
Okay, so right out of the gate, before we hit record, Josh and I were saying it feels good to be back in the Christmas world. We went to Easterville. We've meandered around some Valentine's movies if you want to check those out so far in this season 4 of the pod. But what brought us together to begin with was our love for the Christmas movie. And
Mm.
honestly, on most days, a bad Christmas movie is better than a really good, like, standard fare non-holiday movie to me. I don't know, there's just something that it just elevates it for me. Would you
I
agree?
agree. I agree. And I think we should say this if we're going to kick off Coal for Christmas, question mark, with the question mark at the end, of course. Because, of course,
Yeah.
we're just going to see if we agree. We are not trying to hate, right?
No.
We love these. We respect the craft, but they all can't be tens out of tens. Some of them are going to fall to the bottom of the pile. And so that's why we're going to do this. So we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to talk about the ones that Hallmark fans just really can't seem to fully wrap their arms around, right?
And we may disagree, so we'll just have to find out, like you said. So here we go. Here's kind of the rundown of what happened. If you haven't seen this movie before, or if it's been a while since you've seen it, or maybe you blocked it out, here's what happened. Okay, so we open to a maybe country singer who's trying to be Cyndi Lauper singing a song about snow falling, and we see a Marine military base. They're decorating for a Christmas toy drive led by Danielle, played by Erin Cahill. This might be our first Cahill movie on the pod, I think. I can't think of another one that we've covered from her.
You know, I can't either. I will say I did like seeing her in Finding Mr. Christmas when she was in that episode where she played the female
Yes.
lead opposite the guys, and I liked her in that show. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it was nice to do one with her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a big Hall star, so I'm glad we get to cover one of her movies. So she's a single widowed mom of almost 3 years, and she has a daughter, Audrey, but she's dating a new fella named Piers, who is played by Steve Lund, who is no newcomer to the Hallmark world as well. Audrey says some punk kid called her weird because she's bringing her mom to the father daughter dance, and they bond over a fantastic looking cup of Hocho hot chocolate. I mean, the cup to froth ratio was about 50-50. So at bedtime, Audrey does not want a standard bedtime story. No, no, she wants a story about her dad because all this father daughter dance talk is kind of bringing up, oh, can you tell me more about my dad? Because I guess she's supposed to be around 8 at this point. So she lost her dad when she was fairly young. So here we go. Danielle obliges, and we get a flashback story, which you know is a time jump, A, because they said it, and B, because Danielle has bangs. And if we ever want a female to look like she's in a different part of her life, she's either pregnant or she has bangs. And this movie is 2 for 2 on those.
Check, check, and check.
check. Okay. So it's the story of when Danielle met her now late husband Colby at a Christmas tree lighting gone wrong. And that's also the same night Danielle met Pierce, her now boyfriend. It turns out Pierce and Colby were good friends. And I go, oh, okay. I don't know how I feel about this. Pretty early on, it's a sticky situation. What did you think?
I think sticky situation is the perfect way to describe so much of how I feel about this movie.
We are going to be stuck in some sugar and hot chocolate because also they are drinking hot beverages 99%
Throughout,
of the film.
throughout.
There is always some hocho amidst them. Yeah. Okay. So here we are. Audrey goes to bed. And meanwhile, Pierce has been outside for hours hanging lights because he is just a smitten kitten for Danielle. And they have more cocoa. And Pierce says that they've been dating 9 months and, he really cares about her a lot. And he proposes seemingly out of nowhere, catches Danielle off guard. And she's like, ooh, can I talk to Audrey about it first? It's respectful and I appreciate it because you can tell she really cares about her daughter. She's a good mom, but it's far from romantic. And you got to think it would have taken the wind out of his sails a little bit. What would you do if you proposed and your now wife was like, can I put a pin in it and like talk to my mom or talk to somebody else about it?
Yeah, and you would think it would be part of the conversation before the proposal's actually happening, right? Yeah, weird.
I don't think they've had those conversations about the future. I
No.
think I think Danielle has been vibes and living in the moment, and meanwhile Pierce has like their whole future planned out, which we'll get more to later. But yeah, not on the same pages. But here we are. Audrey turns out she's cool with it, and Pierce brings her a bear and says, "I'm never gonna leave you. I'm always gonna be here." And she's like, "Oh great, I have a bear that my dead dad gave me, and it used to sing Silent Night, and now it doesn't sing Silent Night anymore, and it's very sad." So the bears can be friends. Okay. And she also says that Pierce can take her to the dance. My notes have autocorrected Pierce to Pierre the entire time. I'm now realizing I will most likely call him Pierre at some point, just so you know.
Just a
All right.
caveat.
It's probably going to happen. We know how I am with names, and there are too many names in these movies, and now Google Docs is doing me wrong. Okay. Next bedtime story she tells Audrey is when Colby proposed to Danielle, and every big moment in their lives has happened around Christmas. Okay. They met at Christmas. They're now getting engaged at Christmas. We'll see some other things. It all happens around Christmas. So he proposes to her. He also gives her a puppy on the same day. Just a lot of life events happening with Colby and Danielle back in the day and her bangs. And she got him a picture frame. So I feel like Colby was showing off a little bit.
Yeah.
But he also, in addition to all these things, had given her a belt ornament that has now in present day gone missing for years since he passed. Okay. But the next morning, the dog miraculously finds this ornament under the couch, which they have searched up and down in this house for years. And Danielle goes, that may be a sign. There was also a sign about when they met at the tree lot, which was like a nothing burger. So I'm not even going to go there. That was a stretch of a sign. But Danielle's like, she's starting to feel Colby's presence. And who could blame her? She's now engaged to this man, but the love of her life, who is the father of her child, she lost tragically. So I would assume some feelings would come up. And it's Christmas. I think that's all normal. I was not shocked that she was kind of maybe reading into things and seeing things that weren't there. What did you think about the sign presence thing that
Yeah,
Danielle was experiencing?
I think that it was very clear that Danielle was avoiding feeling all of her feels around all of this because the whole thing is we don't know if her husband was killed. He was MIA, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
found presumably everybody else, but we see a newspaper article early on that Colby was the one person whose remains were never found. And so I think the big
Mm-hmm.
question mark for her has sort of always lingered, and she's not allowed herself to go there fully. And now she's just
Yeah.
in the moment living it all, especially with this Pierce
Mm-hmm.
thing that's unfolding for her.
Yeah. I mean, and who could blame her? I mean, I can't imagine the grief that that would cause,
No,
anyways.
no.
Losing somebody in the military, on top of you don't have that closure because what
Hmm.
if you do hear
Hmm.
these miraculous stories that somebody swam to shore and was found and da 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 da, and she's like, what if that was Colby? And later on, I'll go ahead and say this part, like the general or somebody high up in the military, forgive me, I'm not military, so I don't know the terms, but he was saying basically Danielle Girl is no, there's no intelligence saying that he was found, so give it up. But she's still just like, what if? So yeah, she doom scrolls the news article and she's just kind of reliving some of this stuff. She tells her friend about the signs she's seeing, and the friend's like, I think this is just because you got engaged. Let's maybe table it. You're just kind of freaking out. And Erin Cahill does some great face acting in this scene. Like her face was just, she was saying a lot without saying verbally a lot. And I really enjoyed that.
Hmm.
The next bedtime story is about their Christmas Eve wedding day. And she talks about the flower girl and her mom in the pictures she's showing her daughter. Like, oh, I haven't seen them in a few years. And they showed the clip of her walking down the aisle to Colby. And ew, Pierce was there in the audience. And he was grinning at Danielle when she was walking down the aisle more than just like, oh, you're getting married, my friend. It was like hubba hubba,
Yeah.
Cheshire cat grin. And I was so uncomfortable with it. And my Pierce stock is going down, okay? I was high on Pierce in the beginning. And if there's a level, if we could have a graphic, it would be like, it's tapering a little bit because,
Yeah.
all right.
Sticky
Okay.
situation. Yes.
Hashtag sticky situation. So modern day Pierce has already talked to his realtor since of course they're going to move off of base once they're married. And Danielle's like, okay, maybe, I don't know, hadn't really thought that far ahead, which shame on him for thinking too far ahead, but shame on her for not thinking ahead at all. These are conversations that should be happening as
Mm.
engaged people, but what do I know? So the next day, Danielle runs into the flower girl and her mom at the local coffee shop while she's getting another hot bev, because this is all they do in this movie is drink hot bevs. More spooky signs, because she's like, I haven't seen you in a while. And automatically the next day, here she is. Turns out the flower girl lost her dad, aka the flower girl's mom lost her husband, in that same plane crash. And there's like a little small group of women who lost their husbands. And they're like, Danielle, why don't you come? You should come and be with us. And she never did, but she's now maybe like, maybe that would be good for me to kind of unpack some of my feelings and be around people who are like minded and went through a similar situation that I did, which, yeah, you need to go, Daniel. Go to the
Yeah.
book club, go to the meetings. Seems like a great group of friends. We need community in times like this.
Talk it out, please.
Yeah. So Pierce shows up at the coffee shop and his feelings get hurt because Danielle had not told these people that she hasn't seen in years. Oh, P.S. I just got engaged. And he's like, then he laments to his friend at work, maybe she's not over Colby yet.
Mm.
And he's getting like jealous of the ghost of Colby. And at this point, I wrote, this is why y'all voted for this movie. Because I was mad at this point. Pierce stock down. You think she's not over him? No. And you knew that. You knew that going into this. What kind of quote unquote baggage she might have. Give me a break. Boo hoo, Pierce. What were your takes on this so far?
I think you summed it up. And they really wanted you to have this kind of nosedivey reaction to Pierce. And
Yeah,
so
but it just fell far.
I will give them credit because initially they wanted you to really like Pierce, and I think they made you really like him. But boy, they just sort of
Yeah.
sprinkled these little breadcrumbs along the way to sort of sour you on him pretty darn quickly. And I was like, I think I see where this is going.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they were gonna bury him. All right.
Mhm.
So the flower girl and her mom had invited them to s'mores and movie night, and so Pierce was like, "Yeah, of course we'll go." I want because he wants to meet her friends because he thinks she's like embarrassed to be engaged to him. So they go, and a jazzy version of "Joy to the World" plays. And at this point, I went, "We're back," because for the first time in this movie, I felt warm fuzzies, and it made me happy just for a minute because this movie's kind of sad and heavy, very sad and heavy. But I was like, oh yeah, joy to the world. They're just roasting s'mores. We're back, baby. And I just got so excited, even though it's June as a recording. Then Danielle talks to her friend about grief and moving forward. The friend actually had some great words of wisdom and was like reassuring to her that these feelings are valid. I went through the same thing before I remarried, yada yada. The next bedtime story is when Danielle had Audrey when she went into labor. It's a snowstorm, the roads are bad, but Colby got to her just in time to take her to the hospital. Modern day, next day is Audrey's birthday party. An unexpected snowstorm. it's getting to be a little spooky
It's
at
a
this
little
point.
spooky. Yeah.
It's more than a coincidence and just a found ornament at this point. We're kind of messing with Mother Nature because they don't usually get snowstorms in December where they live. Okay, so
Yep.
it's a little freaky. She's now convinced that Colby is sending her signs, and she talks to her bestie, and bestie's very dismissive, but they're having this heavy conversation at this little girl's birthday party, and Pierce is looking on from the next room, like trying to figure out why Danielle's upset. And yeah, that face, he
Yeah.
has such a little sourpuss, bummed face, more than like you think his face would be, I'm concerned my fiance looks visibly upset and is having a private talk during her daughter's birthday party. This was like, what are they talking about in there without me? I'm the fiance. Is she still into her ex-husband who died tragically?
Yeah.
Pierce. All
Who's
right.
presumably my
So,
friend.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. With friends like Pierce, who needs enemies? Is what I
Exactly.
say. So Danielle's upset. She never got closure. The body was never found. Um she doesn't know what to do. That night she's trying to fix Audrey's bear, who used to sing Silent Night in Colby's voice, like we said, and she can't fix the bear and she's really mad, which I get that. Man, when his toys break and you're just like, I don't know what else to do. I've replaced the batteries already. What more do you want from me? This toy might just need to go to toy heaven because it's broken and it will not come back. And kids hate giving up that stuff. Now I understand Audrey's attachment to this in particular. So instead, Danielle sings Silent Night to help her fall asleep, and her voice is cracking. I almost cried. I didn't cry, but it was beautiful. She's got some pipes on her, and just the emotion behind it. I thought this was a beautiful scene. What did you think?
I concur. It definitely gave me the feels. And I think Erin Cahill can quite clearly sing well, but I think
Mm-hmm.
she did something really nice in that she let her voice crack and really brought some
Mm-hmm.
emotion to it, as you would think, because to your point about this being a kid's toy, they all break, and you can't fix them, and that's frustrating, especially when your kid wants it. But this was the toy that had her husband's voice in it. And so that was sort of, I guess you could say, the last link, the last connection
Mm-hmm.
to his voice. So I get why this was such a big deal. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be calling Build-A-Bear. Coincidentally enough, my son did a Build-A-Bear once, and it had not a recording of me, but like a little. They have little prefab voices you can put in. It was like this little giggle thing that he put in it. And it was this big hamster. Day two of having this thing on vacation, the little button had wiggled its way into the hamster's like large intestine or something. I don't know, like deep in the underbelly of the hamster stuffy, and you can't get to it to squeeze it anymore. He still talks about it. He'll be in second grade soon. He's like, why doesn't it make the noise anymore? And I'm like,
sounds like a
other than
therapy
doing
appointment
hamster
someday.
surgery, I know I gotta put some money in the therapy jar for the hamster, and it's not, my late husband singing. I can't imagine. So, anywho, this is when I almost called her Erin. Danielle is like, hey, bestie, can I go talk to your dad who's high up in the military to try to get closure? He's not really much help because he's like, yeah, he's dead, dead. I don't know. So, Audrey has consumed a bunch of candy canes while they're getting ready for the toy drive, and she might have diabetes soon. I'm concerned for her health because every time they show this kid in the movie, she's having a lot of sugar. And I eat a lot of sugar. My sugar tolerance is high. This kid's like part elf, just as a sidebar, unrelated to anything else. Heavy emphasis on the sugar.
Give the girl a vegetable, please. A vegetable, please.
Or some
Yeah.
protein. Let her gnaw on a
Something.
chicken tender. Something. One of those big turkey legs from the fair. Some kind of meat in this kid's system. Okay, so Pierce's work party, they're there. He's showing Danielle off. She's clearly distracted because I will say, she's not given the Pierce relationship 100 during this movie. Like
Mm-mm.
she is elsewhere since the engagement. Rightly so, but she is elsewhere. And he's still jealous and he's worried about Danielle's trauma, but she helps him calm down. It's like, I'm sorry, I've been, distracted, blah, 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 blah. That night, the bedtime story is Danielle talking to Colby as a flashback. Danielle's talking to Colby on a video call that got cut off. That's the last time she spoke to him or saw him. And she's like, you know what, sister who's watching my kid, I know I just got home from this work party, but I need a minute. She goes for a walk by some really bad fake snow, and she's going to clear her head. She's standing next to her Christmas tree, and she has this really sweet monologue basically to the ghost of Colby. And she's like, I need a sign. Are you still here? I feel you here. And then the tree she's next to has lights flicker. Ooh.
Very spooky.
Super spooks. So the toy drive event happens the next day. It's a big hit. I am glad it was not a toy drive planning movie because most Hallmark movies would have done that. Like
Hmm.
it would have been like top heavy on toy drive, bottom tiered grief, like it would have been lopsided. If we're gonna have grief in a movie, let's make it full throttle. So I did kind of appreciate that. That night she's going through Colby's old things and she's packing up his old stuff, like his old dress blues and things, which seems, I don't know. Maybe we could have waited till after the holidays for this, but she's in the zone. And she finds a never before seen note from Colby in her journal that she used to write in every day. The note says to follow her heart. Well, okay, I think I'm gonna do that. That's a sign. That's as much of a sign as anything.
Yeah.
The next morning at this coffee shop, because they're gonna get more hot beverages, Pierce is sad boy looking at a coffee with a heart in it, and she comes in and he's like, "Hey, I'm dreaming of the perfect house and planning for retirement, and you may not even want to leave base. So what are we doing? I think we're on two different places." And she's like, "I think so too." Like she was too excited for him to say. She's like, "Yes, he said it first. I'm not the bad guy.
I'm off the
You're right.
hook.
We shouldn't be engaged."
I'm glad you picked up
I
on that
think
because I did too. She seemed so relieved that he was like,
she's like,
"Yeah, we
"Well,
shouldn't
if
do
you
this.
insist, I'm gonna take my phone and my purse, and
Bye."
I'm gonna hit the road. Can I get a to-go cup for my hot beverage?" I honestly wonder, was she hoping the daughter would not be okay with it? That was like gonna be her out at the beginning of the movie. And then Audrey was like, totally fine. And she's like, "Gah, crap."
I know.
And for all, I feel bad for Audrey, the daughter, because I mean, this man comes into their life. He's in love with her mom. He's very sweet with Audrey for all intents and purposes. He gives her this bear as this declaration, "I will never leave you." And then when the going gets tough, Pierce get going. And
Well,
there's just fluff in the distance.
and Pierce is trotting out all kinds of fancy jewelry. He gave Erin, Danielle, the ring, of course, and then he gave Audrey this necklace that had this gigantic, what was it, blue topaz or something, the birthstone for
Heart of the
December
Ocean
or
from
something.
Titanic.
It was
I don't
very,
know. Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah, Pierce has money. I mean, he's, if if you were looking for a sugar daddy, I think Pierce would be your guy. But um and he's like, "So do you still want me to take Audrey to the dance?" Which was sweet, but I'm sure he was like, "Please say no, please say no." And she's like, "No, no, I'm gonna take her by myself, just how we intended in the beginning." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well,
Yeah.
bye. Lots of luck to you and yours. We can still be friends." So, beep 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 beep. News, news, news alert. There are several prisoners being released near where Colby's plane crashed 3 years ago. And Danielle's like, "It's a sign." And then this general is like, "They weren't US members. Don't get excited." Like he shoots her down real quick and she's like,
Womp womp.
"Rats." Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're at the father daughter dance, which they alluded to this early in the movie. But that punk kid was like, "Oh, what? You're not bringing your dad. What a loser." They pointed out, and I agree, a lot of these kids at least would have their dads deployed.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's going to be the only kid on base at a father daughter dance without a father figure there.
No, certainly not.
Anyway, yeah, they look $1,000,000. They go to the dance. The mood is bright and upbeat, but Danielle is not. She is sad. She leaves Audrey at the dance to boogie with her friends, goes to the bathroom, and I will appreciate the public bathroom mirror had tinsel around it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why don't I do that in my house at the holidays? Note to self.
Coming your way in 2025, tinsel around the
Put that
bathroom
on,
mirror.
put that on my vision board for sure. I can go to the $1.25 tree and elevate my bathroom real quick. But
Elevate.
hark, yeah, yeah. But hark, she hears Silent Night playing. Like you do, you slow dance to Silent Night at a father daughter dance.
What?
This is where the movie goes off the rails. In case you're wondering,
Off
we're
the rail.
we're on the track. Chugga chugga chugga. We're going up the hill, and the just like, because it's weird. She left her daughter to me, who has
Yeah.
abandonment issues. It's didn't say I'm going to run to the bathroom. She just leaves her. The daughter's looking around like, "Where's my mom?" It's weird, silent noise. But then she emerges from the bathroom
Mhm.
and there is a man in uniform with his back to her. Now, earlier she thought she saw a guy that looked like him at the market or something, and it wasn't him because, spoiler alert, there's probably a lot of men with his build and buzzed haircuts on a military base. I mean, one would assume.
Yeah.
This guy is similar to that. He turns around. It's Colby. Now, I don't know about you. If I saw my husband, who I had assumed was dead for 3 years, I think I would either soil myself or pass out or cry. Like it would be one of those three. And she's moved and she's like, "It is you." And they embrace. And this guy looks like $1,000,000. He
Yeah.
looks
No
well
worse for the
fed.
wear. No worse for the wear.
I look worse after a bad night's sleep with a baby in my house than this guy does. No bags under his eyes. Not even like a bruise or a scratch or a
No,
sunburn
no
or a
tear
freckle.
or dirt on his uniform, like perfectly.
Suspicious mole that he might need to get checked out. He's, I guess, living his best life. Totally fine, showing up by himself. It's not like his boss was there to reveal it or there was a big thing. He's just chilling. She sees him. They embrace. And then they go inside because he's going to see his daughter for the first time in 3 years. And she hugs him. I guess she's happy to see him. And the people in the background clap for 5 seconds, like, and they're muted because we're playing, I think, a Tyrone Wells song. I think I read it was like full blast product or music placement, so there's no audio, but they silently clap. Then they go back to dancing. Isn't this guy your friend? Like you're on the same base. Didn't you at least know of Colby or know that? I thought that was weird, but here we are. And then his audio, as he's like, "I told you I'd come home and I'd have a lifetime of Christmases with you," seemed auto dubbed over music. Like the audio seemed weird to me. The whole thing I was thinking was a dream sequence at this point.
I thought for sure she was hallucinating.
I thought she needed to get some smelling salts to her
Yeah.
nose ASAP.
Yeah.
No. And then they go home to the house that Pierce risked frostbite to decorate earlier in the movie. And he tells Audrey a bedtime story. And
And
then there
that's
you
how it ends.
It's time for Gold or Coal.
Okay, so it's time for our big gold or coal segment. And this is where Jennifer and I are going to see if we agree with the pretty wide consensus about this film. If there's more gold in our total, we're going to say it's a perfect proposal. And if there's more coal, it's a bad joke. Because, of course, Danielle loves a bad joke throughout this entire movie. And if it's a tie,
go.
3-3, we're just going to call it a meh re-Christmas. So, Jennifer, we've got some things to unpack. So, hit me with your first gift.
Okay. I'm going to start with some gold because let me tell you what, Erin Cahill I thought was a dang delight in this movie. I believed her as a mother. I believed her as someone who is working through her grief and should she move forward and move on but still holding on to the past, and how do you do that when you have a kid and all of these things. And she's also a very immersive actor, and like she does lots of hand touching. Did you see, like she's always like, "Oh, thank you so much," like put a hand on a shoulder, grabbing coffee, like just lots of handwork, but it makes it seem more natural and not, it sounds awkward in my description, but it looked effortless. It looked very, yeah, it looked effortless, I guess is what I'll say.
Yeah,
So
I will
I
agree. I
enjoyed
think,
her very much.
like you said, I thought she was a dang delight. That
Yeah.
might have to become a thing. I'm going to start with some coal.
Oh no.
I I watch these movies because I like to see people fall in love. I do not like to see people fall out of love in a Hallmark movie. And this whole thing with Pierce was just didn't like it. Didn't like it.
I don't disagree. I okay, this movie is different from the norm though.
Very.
Okay? and I think it should be. I'm gonna give some gold there. I'm giving that's my second piece of gold. This movie is not the normal quote unquote Hallmark Christmas movie that everybody complains about, that it's too saccharine, it's too peppy, you know exactly what's going to happen. You did not know what was going to happen. And if you thought you knew, you had no idea. I'll tell you what, I remember hearing people talk about this movie when it came out and how they didn't like it. And I thought I knew the ending. I knew he came back. I did not know that it was because he was never confirmed dead, and also she was engaged to his good friend, and that he came back in the last 2 minutes at a dance and it was awkward AF. Like, I didn't know any of that. So I was still surprised. And even then, when it happened, when, like I said, when he came back on screen, I thought it was a dream sequence. So all of that to say what you will about this movie, it is not boring and it is not cliche. It is out of the box and they tried something different.
I will agree. I'll concur. I think, however, the gigantic oopsie doodle of him not being dead and instead being alive should have happened maybe 5 minutes earlier because this ending was
Mm-hmm.
so dang rushed.
Mm-hmm.
It was he's alive and they hug and then they dance and then we're back at the house and Merry Christmas, good night. And it was
Everything's better.
literally
Yeah.
it was just too whiplashy and too
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And if you're going to drop a bomb like that, you need to let that breathe a little bit more. So I'm giving Cole for that because it was bonkers and needed more time to breathe.
Mm-hmm. I wrote down the same thing. My last gift is Cole. It's, I can suspend belief in a lot of these movies. You have to, because we're going for the happy ending. And I saw a lot of criticism, and I don't disagree, that, imagine you're a child who has lost a parent at war, and then you see this movie, and this is all you want. Like, this is the dream that they're just going to show back up. And that's not the norm. That is very out of the ordinary. It's truly a miracle. There should have been news cameras there. He was just by himself creeping in the hallway. But I can suspend disbelief, but he looked too good. He was full Hall star glam, and I don't need him to look like he was beaten up for 3 years, but like just a little, like you said, just a little dust,
Something.
a little muss, a little something. Like, why is his hair not grown out? Shouldn't his hair be grown out?
Right.
Are they buzzing his hair for him where he's been?
Where's he taking showers? Where is he I had so many questions about
Did he
what
find a Pilot gas station on the way to the daddy daughter dance? How did he know they would be there?
how did he know how to sneak onto base? Because presumably there's security gates that he had to get through to get to the
Well,
school.
that's true. That's true. You would
So
hope
many
so.
questions. Yeah. My
Yeah.
last gift is going to be a bit of gold, and it will be for the child actress who played Audrey here. Now, I will tell you, I normally am not one for a kid actor. You know this.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
especially a kid singer. Don't get me started there. But I thought this little girl really did a good job of not being too cheesy with the grief, right?
Yeah.
Not trying too hard in that
Mhm.
aspect. I thought it was really tasteful the way she portrayed it. So some gold for
Mhm.
her. So the bottom line here, we had three pieces of gold. We had three coal. We're just going to call it meh, meh, Merry Christmas. So final thoughts for you.
I was prepared to hate it, but our whole thing is you all are telling us what you think are the worst movies, and we're going in open minded. Neither one of us have seen this movie before. We were just going to see what happened, but because of what I'd heard, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to like it. I did not hate it. It is not the worst movie to me at all. I don't. There are a lot of movies I would put lower than this. Again, mainly because it's not boring, and they tried something different. And so I think we would be remiss to always complain about they don't do things differently. They follow a formula, and then when they try to do something different, even if it's not perfectly executed, which it was not, they tried. And I do want to commend them for that, because we know all the Hallmark execs listen to our podcast, and clearly they're going to appreciate our gold.
Seriously. Seriously.
What about you? Is this
I
one you would
think
ever watch again?
I don't think would watch it by myself again, but I might watch it with
Yeah.
my wife again just to sort of see what she thinks about it and that sort of thing. You know, it is kind of a different one. It's a heartfelt one,
Mm-hmm.
right? For sure. And gosh, I really appreciated Erin Cahill in this, and I want to watch more of her catalog and see
Mm-hmm.
her in a different, maybe a more traditional kind of Hallmark movie just to
Mm-hmm.
see what she does with
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
We would certainly love to know what you think about this one, so be sure to leave us a comment on our social media channels. Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? What do you think? We would love to know. Have you seen it? And if you decide to go back and watch it after listening to this, let us know too. We would certainly love to hear from you because that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch? And hey, if you like this episode, be sure to bop that like button on YouTube. Tell that algorithm that more people need to see this video.
Yeah, because everybody's wanting to watch Christmas movies in June. I know it. And we're glad you're here whenever you find this episode. Special thanks to Nick Schwartz, as always. He wrote, produced, sings in our theme song. And thank you for listening. We know there's a lot of content out there, and we really do appreciate you being here with us to laugh and hopefully make you feel some warm fuzzies along the way.
There you go. And next time we are traveling to another time dimension for Hallmark's 2015 movie, almost 10 years ago now, Family for Christmas. This one stars Hallmark Queen Lacey Chabert, and here is the plot summary. After a conversation with a man playing Santa Claus during her office Christmas party, a woman wakes up to find herself married to her college sweetheart with 2 kids and questions her life choices. We're going to have plenty to discuss, Jennifer. And until then,
May your days be merry and bright. We'll see you next time.